Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the Division video. What I've guessed today are the top 3 best Ninjabike backpack builds in the game at the moment. Now first of all, I do want to say they are the builds I've been using for the past couple of weeks, and they are the builds I've been experimenting with and really liking. There are other builds in the game. You can make different combinations with gear that are really good as well. But in my opinion, these 3 ones are really worth using, and if you don't have classified gear, if you're new to the game, or if you're coming back, anything like that, and you want to make a solid build that does include a Ninjabike backpack, these are some of the options I would recommend making. Anyways, before we start, I do want to say I will not go into detail too much on the 3 builds that I'll be showing. I will actually have a complete description of the builds in the description box below if you guys want to check out. It will be a little bit easier because if I go over every single gear piece and what I have on it and why I'm using it, the video is going to be like 35 minutes long, and let's be honest, no one wants to sit here for 30 minutes and watch a Division video. So like I said, I'm obviously going to show you guys the build, but I will have a little bit more gameplay running in the background rather than me just going over each single gear piece and telling you what I have rolled on it and what I'm using for it. If you are curious about that, as I said, visit the description below. So the first build I do have for you guys is something most of you guys already know. If you guys have been playing the game for a little bit now, this is a build a lot of people have been running, and this is actually a build I've been using for a long time, even before classified gear was even in the game. This was one of the builds I've been using. So as you guys can see, this build consists of 2 Predator's Mark, 2 Banshee, Savage Gloves, and a Ninjabike backpack with the house. The first thing I do want to say is you do not have to use the house. You can use something like a MP7 or MP5, or even something like a PP19 is actually kind of decent for PvP since you have a lot of ammo. Also, you can go with a assault rifle like the Lightweight M4 or LVOAC with this build. The house is not necessary at all to use this. Obviously, if you have the house, you want to use it because it's really good in the game and you're going to do a little bit more damage. The second thing I do want to say is you do not have to use classified gear for this either. With me having all classified gear in my stash, and I pretty much got rid of everything I don't have classified, there's no way I can make this build without using classified gear. So as I said, if you're coming back to the game, if you're new to the game, whatever the case is, you can make this build with normal gear. Obviously, it's not going to be as good because the stat rolls are going to be a little bit lower, but it's still something you can make and use in PvP. So the reason why you want to use 2 Banshee with a Ninjabike backpack is because you get 10% damage to targets out of cover, which is really good. Not only that, but if you pair this with 2 Predator's Mark and a Ninjabike backpack, you get additional 8% assault rifle damage or SMG damage. So in total you get 18%. This is really good to pretty much sustain a lot of damage for PvP or even PvE. You can pretty much use this for whatever you want, but the main focus of this build that I'm showing you guys is for PvP. Lastly, you want to go with Savage Gloves. In my opinion, there's no other better option to use for this build. You can obviously use a refreshed mask, a bared chest piece, vigorous chest piece, rapid chest piece, anything like that. But in my mind, the Savage Gloves work the best for ARs or SMGs. The final thing I do want to show you guys about this build are the character stats. So really quickly, I'm sitting at 22k base damage, 36% critical hit chance, 116% critical hit damage, 61% headshot damage. Next up, we're sitting at 346,000 max health, which is actually really good for both PvP or PvE. Lastly, I am using 38% skill haste. Now let me explain, let me tell you guys why I have so much skill haste on this build, and the main reason why is because in my opinion, this build has no survivability, it has no really healing at all. You guys know electronics and speccing into electronics is pretty useless in this patch, so besides that, you really don't have any healing except your medkits. The reason why I have so much skill haste is because I do want my immune station and my booster shot, which is pretty trash in general. Like the booster shot is not really good at all with this much electronics. But the reason why I want it back often is because 1, I will get a damage increase and also a damage resistance, and then also with that much skill haste, I will get my immune station back in 22 seconds. So my only form of healing from this build is the immune station and the booster shot. If you're using a build that's not Striker or Nomad or anything like that where you don't get a constant heal, you kind of have to spec into skill haste in my opinion in order to get a little bit of healing. If you don't, you're going to get squished, you're going to pretty much get destroyed as soon as you come across someone using a build that has constant healing like Striker or Nomad. So like I said, if I don't spec into skill haze at all on this build, I would be sitting at 38-second cooldowns on the immune station and also 54 seconds on the booster shot. Now like I said, the booster shot is trash, but the damage increase and damage resistance is worth in my opinion, and also the immune station will always heal you for 33% of your health. No matter how much health you have, how little or how much, it's always going to heal you for the same amount, so that's why I am spec'd into skill haze with this build. The next build I do want to show you guys is very similar to the first one, but in my opinion this one is a little bit better with the survivability for the Dark Zone or Last Stand. So as you guys can see, this is a 3-piece Nomad, 2-piece Banshee, and a Ninjabike backpack build. As I said, in my mind, and in my opinion, this build is a bit better if you want to stay alive longer, if you're playing solo, whatever the case is. This build will give you a very close resemblance to using 6-piece Nomad. Obviously, you don't get the 6 and 5-piece bonuses, but it's still very close of how the build works. So for my weapon, I'm once again using the house with the lightweight M4. You can use something else like a lightweight M4, or even something like a LVAC, MP7, MP5, it's really up to you. Now once again, the reason why I'm using 2-piece Banshee is because of the damage bonus, which is the 3-piece bonus that gives you 10%, and I'm also using 3 Nomad, which you get the health on kill, the little healing over time with the 3-piece, and for the 4-piece, you obviously get the additional life every 4 minutes. So like I said, in my mind, this build is a bit better for kind of solo play. It's not the best, I would say, but if you are new to the game, if you're coming back to the game, this is a strong build you can make. Once again, if you're curious of what I rolled on the gear, what I'm using, and why I'm using it, check out the description, it will be a little bit easier to follow. The final part, I want to go over all my character stats. So for the weapon damage, I'm sitting at 22,000, 46% critical hit chance, 117% critical hit damage. Once again, I have 61 headshot damage. For the max health, I'm sitting at 326,000. This build is a little bit lower, but obviously you get the extra life with using 3-piece Nomad. And also I'm sitting at 9% skill haze. With this build, I did the normal kind of mods. I went with firearms and health mods on everything, and obviously I'm using first aid self-heals, nothing too crazy. If you want, you can change out the firearms and health mods and go into like firearms and critical hit chance mods if you're not using a submachine gun. But if you're planning on using a SMG with this build, you might as well use firearms and health mods because you already get a lot of critical hit chance with the SMG and you will be a little bit more tanky. The final build I do want to show you guys is a PvE build. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna feel kind of bad if I left out a PvE build and just included 3 PvP builds because I do understand some players that do come back to the game or are new to the game prefer playing PvE over PvP, so I wanted to make something that's really good for PvE and you can have fun using it. So this is the build. As you guys can see, it is a 3-piece tactician, 2-piece firecrest, and then Ninjabike backpack. The first thing I do want to say is you can go with a kind of different route on this build. You can use 3 firecrest and 2 tactician with a Ninjabike backpack, and the build kind of works the same. You get additional weapon damage for using 3 firecrest with a Ninjabike backpack, but it's not too significant. It doesn't really change the build too much. So with me and my personal preference, I am using 3-piece tactician and 2 firecrest. For the weapon, you definitely want to use the MDR. The way this build is kind of set up, it's meant to be used with this weapon because of the exotic talent it has on it, but it is okay if you don't have the MDR. You can use still something like a light M4 or a LVAC. As for the gear mods, I'm using the purple damage elite mods with electronics, and I'm also using 4% turret damage mods. Obviously, since this is a PvE build, those damage elite mods are going to be really helpful. They're going to give you a little bit more damage even if you don't have a lot of firearms on, and also the 4% turret damage mods will make your flame turret even stronger. Anyways, the last part on this build I want to go over are the character stats. So for the weapon damage, I'm sitting at 43,000, 9% critical hit chance, 56% critical hit damage, 132% headshot damage. For the health, I'm sitting at 250,000, which keep in mind, is going to be really low since I'm spec'd into skill power on pretty much everything, like my backpack, knee pads, my mask, everything like that. But since you have a lot of skill power and electronics, your heals are really, really good and you should have no problem staying alive. Lastly, I am sitting at 40% skill haste. Now the way I did set up this build is obviously with purple damage to elite mods, so for that reason I do not have 50% skill haste. If you want 50%, you have to use something like firearms or electronics or stamina and skill power mods or skill haste mods, so it kind of really depends on you. With this build, as I said, I wanted to use purple damage to elite mods, so for that reason I'm not sitting at 50% skill haste. Lastly, I actually want to show you guys my talents and tell you guys what I'm using and why I'm using it. So first up we have Triage, Critical Save, Wildfire, and Precision. First up I'm using Precision. As I said, with this build I'm using the MDR, so Precision in my opinion is really important since I'm going for headshots anyways. Wildfire for the turret, it's going to give you a little bit more burn, which is pretty important. And lastly I'm using Critical Save for the damage resistance when using a medkit. And I also have Triage for PvE. Triage is really, really important since most of the time you're going to be together with your team. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. That is pretty much it for the video. As I said, those three builds in my opinion are very, very good for both PvP or PvE. It really depends what kind of player you are. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I respond to all my comments. But once again, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Trust you, okay, give you real address. I can't trust you, okay, give you real address. It don't mean that be like Jerry Stack. I might fall in love with my trap house.